So the Club World Cup knockout stage has continued to be pretty fun. I was worried at one point because it looked like we might just get all European teams besides Palmeiras, who beat fellow Brazilians in the round of 16, come the quarterfinals. But that hasn't been the case. That was the case for all but one day, but that one day did provide us with some very fun results and continued this enjoyment of the Club World Cup. That started with Fluminense beating Inter Milan, and it was absolutely deserved. Inter until the end of the second half. Like for a lot of the game, I don't think they actually looked that good. And then in the second half, they were a bit better, but they never scored. And then Fluminense were able to put the game away. So that was fun to see. And then Al Hilal shocked Man City, and this is an odd one. I mean, it's hard to see it as entirely like this triumphant underdog story when Al Hilal have spent a load of oil money. Like this is the Oil Classico, and Al Hilal just throwing money at so many players. A lot of them older, but there are some pretty big names, the likes of like Cancelo, Koulibaly, though Mitrovic wasn't in the team. But like there are a few very good players on Al Hilal. So perhaps it's not quite this like massive underdog triumph or anything, but it is fun when Manchester City lose it. I think I took quite a lot of vindictive joy from Manchester City losing to Al Hilal just because I'm a salty Arsenal supporter. So that was quite fun for me. And that does mean now we've got kind of like this fun side and a European side. So on the one side, we've got Chelsea versus Palmeiras and Fluminense versus Al Hilal. Fluminense and Al Hilal kicking off the quarterfinals today. Um, and I do think that Chelsea, despite being favorites, are not really like guaranteed to make it. They've already lost to one Brazilian side, and there's no reason why they can't lose to Palmeiras. Um, I'm kind of surprised that Palmeiras were the ones to make it through and not Botafogo. I thought Botafogo had been more impressive in the group stage than Palmeiras, but watching the game between Palmeiras and Botafogo, although I did miss the extra time, it did seem like Palmeiras were the better side and absolutely deserving of the win. And then there's Chelsea, who are really like the Benfica game shows it best because this is a Chelsea team that when everything is working, they really are capable of just blowing you away. And they did that in the second half of the Conference League final. I remember watching that, where they could just, pile on the goals, pile on the pressure. Um, but then for most of the Benfica game, they didn't show that. I feel like without the weather delay, they would have just won 1-0. And I will, I think, eventually make a video about some of the controversies around weather and heat at the Club World Cup because that has been a pretty big storyline. But I do think Chelsea would have won 1-0, which wasn't like the most impressive of victories ever. But then when they did get the chance to really showcase what they can do, they ended up winning 4-1 in extra time. So, like, Chelsea, when they're at their best, they are a very good team. And if they can show that side of themselves, I have a feeling that they've got a pretty straightforward route to the final. It's a matter of whether they do that, though, because they didn't do that against Flamengo, and Fluminense and Palmeiras are both more than capable of beating them if they don't play like that. And what's to say Al Hilal can't do it? They just beat Man City, so what's Fluminense, Chelsea, or Palmeiras? So that's one of the more interesting. I mean, that's definitely the more interesting side in my eyes, where really all four teams have a shot of making it through. Though Chelsea probably are still the favorites. Then on the other side, we've just got the European ones. I think it's Real Madrid versus Dortmund and PSG versus Bayern Munich. PSG and Bayern is, a star-studded game. Bayern Munich still waiting to really show what they're capable of. I feel like they haven't always been as good as some of the star power on their squad suggests they can be. They had just about a successful season by their standards because they did win the Bundesliga, but they went out in the quarterfinals of the Champions League, and I do think that they have a squad that is better than some of their results have shown sometimes. So what better way to show that they truly do belong amongst the elites than by beating PSG? There is a chance we could get into a Classicer semifinal, and if that happens, that would be awesome. Don't know if that's likely. I think Real Madrid and PSG are the more likely teams to win. Real Madrid, for the most part, like they definitely did deserve to beat Juve. They've had a few bumps along the road. Like I feel like they've in the games I've watched of them, they've always been the better side, but sometimes haven't always scored as much as I think they could maybe. Like I think they could have done more than 2-0 against Juventus. But still, that's a fairly easy, straightforward win. They did draw with Al Hilal, though Al Hilal has also just beaten Man City, so that doesn't look like quite so poor of a result now. And then there's Dortmund, who I don't think have been that impressive so far in the tournament. I think this might be where it ends for Dortmund, but you never know. This is knockout stage football now, so you could always get some weird results in it. And then there's PSG, who, despite the loss of Botafogo, have by and large still looked very good throughout the tournament. They just trounced Inter Miami, which is not the hardest team to trounce, but they still, they got what they needed to do. They won big and they didn't show any mercy, which is a good thing to do when you're the favorite and strong. If you want to make a statement, don't show mercy, just win and win big. So that leaves us with probably the winner coming on the European side of the bracket. I imagine it'll be one of PSG, Bayern, or Real Madrid. I'm really hoping, though, that we can get a Brazilian team in the final. I'm rooting for Palmeiras and Fluminense more than anyone else. So it's been pretty fun, and I'm hoping that we still get some upsets come the semis and come the final, because I don't think Chelsea are invincible. And that side of things, like the Club World Cup, is pretty fun, and I've enjoyed that side. So I'm really hoping that we can see Fluminense or Palmeiras making the final. That would be awesome.